Hey guys, how's it going? It is Travis Mortz with the Forest Hill Film Lab. Today I wanted to talk to you guys about the Yashica-mat 124G as well as the Yashica-mat 124. I kind of wanted to go over these two cameras with you and explain to you what the differences are between the two, and also explain to you how to use them and how to load them with film and all the different features and all that good stuff. So, I basically wanted to do this video for the recipient of the camera giveaway, so they'd have a general understanding of how this camera works, but as well for you guys who have been following the giveaway who are also interested in this camera. You guys can see this review and see a little bit more about this camera. So we're gonna get started. I'll show you guys the two models and tell you the differences between the two and some more good stuff. So the Yashica-mat 124. Basically, this camera was the answer to Yashica's problems when they had Yashica 12 and they had a Yashica 24, and the 12 and the 24 basically determines what kind of film it could shoot. The 12 only 120, the 24 was able to shoot both 120 and 220. So in 1968, Yashica came out with the Yashica-mat 124, and basically what this was. It was a hybrid camera that could shoot both kinds of film. It also had this integrated meter. You see battery operated meter. And yeah, it had nice chrome trim. And just 3 years later, in 1971, Yashica came out with the Yashica-mat 124G. Now, a lot of people consider this camera to be a better camera because it's more sought after and usually more valuable. But that's mostly because it's all black. People like that. But realistically, these cameras are no different, functionally. The cameras themselves are pretty much identical. The only difference between these two is that the 124G, it has gold battery contacts for the meter. So that's actually what the G stands for, is for gold. And it's basically just the contacts in here are made out of gold, and the contacts inside the meter are made out of gold. Basically, as far as I'm concerned, it was a marketing ploy. They released this camera only 3 years later, and they made pretty much no major differences to the camera. You can see that the styling of each camera is pretty much identical. If I had to say anything, I would say that the black one is probably cheaper made, because the chrome one has more metal components on it, like these dials and stuff. Everything feels a little bit more plastic on this camera, because I feel like they used plastic to kind of get the black. I don't know, I could be wrong, but in my experience, the Yashica-mat 124 is a little bit more durable. It seems a little bit sturdier, and I could be wrong, but the one difference that this camera seems to have is it's a little chintzier, actually. Like that's plastic. That's definitely plastic, whereas this one is metal. Definitely metal. It's cold to the touch. So yeah, they both have a Yashica 80mm f3.5 lens. So that's what I'm telling you guys, is that optically these cameras are no different. Mechanically the cameras are no different. Image-wise, they're going to make the same images. So that's something to think about if you are looking for one of these cameras. You could always look for the Yashica-mat 124 non-G version. And you're going to be getting the same exact thing. And that is basically a Japanese Rolleiflex copy. This would have been a copy of a Rolly 3.5, of course. But it is a little bit simpler. These cameras address some issues that the Rolly has, like loading it. I'll show you guys in a minute how to load this camera. And it's really quite easy, because they eliminated this roller that the Rollies have, that you have to feed the film underneath. This does not have that, which is very nice. It comes standard with a gridded ground glass, which is pretty nice. I do enjoy that. It's got this nice cold shoe on the side. These are things that the Rolleiflex does not have. So yeah, I'm actually going to give you guys a closer look at these cameras underneath like a macro lens. So how about we cut to that, and I'll show you guys real up close like some of the details of this camera, and I'll also load a roll of film in here for the recipient of this camera, and also so you guys can see exactly how to load this thing so there's no confusion when it's time for you to do it yourself. So yeah. Alrighty guys, you know that I usually like to give you a good close-up view of the cameras I'm reviewing, so here it is. I put the two cameras side by side here so you can really see that the differences between the two are basically just colors. This obviously has the black dials and this the chrome. We got the chrome face on here, but you know the build of the camera across the board is pretty much identical, like I mentioned earlier. I'll show you guys the sides of them here, and you can see that just about everything is the same, even down to the brackets up here, the placement of the window. These cameras are pretty much identical. Even the base plates of them are roughly the same. You know, the locking mechanism. I just want to show you guys like really how similar these cameras are, and the fact that you know buying one is pretty much no different than buying the other. So here are the knobs on both sides. Now I'm going to focus on just one of these cameras, and I think I'm going to focus on the 124G because that is the camera that we're going to be giving away. So let me get behind here and just show you guys some of the stuff we've got here. So here we've got the focusing knob. You see it, not only does it have a distance scale, so right now we would be at infinity, it also has a hyperfocal distance scale, which is what these aperture numbers are. So it's basically indicating to us what our depth of field would be at that specific aperture. Here we've got some sort of indicator of what kind of film we've got in here, whether it's daylight, tungsten, whatnot. And I'm going to set that down. And so you can see the engravings here, Kennedy photo. Right here is where the settings are for aperture and shutter speed. Let's see here. Very easy. We got our aperture here. It goes all the way to 32, which is pretty fancy. We've got our meter here. I don't think that this meter works. Here's our ground glass looking at our beautiful migrant mother photograph. And you can see the grid, and then if we push here, we've got our magnifying glass, and you can close the hood. And then let's go ahead and open this thing up. So I want to go ahead and load this thing with film for you guys so you can really see how it's done, and so this guy receiving it can have a roll of film in his camera. So one thing to pay attention to is the base plate here says 12 exposures. If you wanted to do 24, you would switch it to 24, and the camera would read that base plate and basically would know that you've got what 220 roll in there. So first thing we want to do is take this spool down here. That's called our take-up spool. That should always be there because that's the empty roll from the last roll that was shot. So put this side in first, put it in there, good to go. And now we've got our roll of Kodak T-Max 100. So I'm going to put it down here where the take-up spool was. Bada bing, bada boom, in there. And you can see right here, it says 24 exposure film start mark. And then down here it says film start mark for 12 exposures. Let's see if you can see that. Right there, 12 start mark. So, like I mentioned, this does not have the roller that you have to go under like a Rolleiflex, so you just go right over the top of that. And then advance her until we feel good about it. So now I'm holding some tension on this bottom one to make it tight. And once we see our arrow right there, oh yeah, nice and happy. We've got our arrow pointing where it said for us to point it. We're going to close it. Close this up. Make sure it's on this little pin here. And then we're going to focus on our frame window, and we're just going to advance to number 1. You see we're now at number 1 here. Wonderful. And one thing that you should always know about the Yashicas is you have to turn this backwards and put it into its home, which is right here. And now it is ready to shoot. Loaded with 100 speed film. I'm going to go ahead and lock the shutter here. We got the shutter lock, and the camera is ready to go. Some of the other features I didn't really point out was here is a self-timer. Here is a PC socket for flash. And here is the sync switch, which basically determines how that flash fires. We want it on X. And yeah, that's pretty much it. That is the Yashica-mat 124G in all of its glory. So now you guys have got to see a closer look at this camera, and you can really see that the attention to detail on these things is pretty nice. And really shooting one of these Japanese versions of the Rolleiflex, you're not going to miss out on a whole lot of the experience, and the quality of the images is also right on par with Rolleiflex. Since I got these cameras, I've been shooting a lot of test rolls with them, so I'm going to show you guys a few photos that were basically made with the Yashica twin lens. I'm not really sure which one of the two that all these are going to be made with, but they were made with 124 of this sort. Whether it's this one or another one, I'm not quite sure. But here's a couple photos for you guys to check out so you can see what this thing's capable of, and I'll see you guys in a second. Alright, so now that you guys have had a chance to look at some of the images that these cameras could produce, you could understand the benefits of shooting this camera are that, you get a square format, which, in photography is actually pretty hard to achieve. There's not a whole lot of cameras out there that make square photos natively, aside from shooting medium format, so I'd have to say that that's probably one of the biggest perks about shooting this TLR system is being able to shoot a square format photo. Also, the quietness of a Yashica, or any twin lens for that matter, makes it so street photography is a little bit easier. Focusing through the waist level also makes street photography a little bit easier. So this is this is the kind of camera that you would want if you're living in a urban area and you want to photograph people on the street and maybe try to stay a little bit more inconspicuous. This is a little bit more suitable than a big old Nikon D4, D5 in front of your face, or any of these. Pretty much any camera you hold up to your face is going to bring more attention to your face and to you, whereas this could just be hanging on your neck, kind of freely, not taking up any space, and also kind of being inconspicuous, like I mentioned. I don't know if you guys noticed, but here I've got something off in the corner that I wanted to show you guys before this video ended. Today I picked up this little gem. This is a Nikon FM2. This is most known for its mechanical it's a mechanical body, but it also has really fast shutter speeds. And this also came with an 85 1.8 on it, which is quite a special lens. So I was thinking about maybe talking about this camera in my next video, but I also haven't talked about my Leica M3 yet that I picked up a while back. So maybe you guys could comment below with the camera you would most like to see next. Would you rather see the Nikon FM2 I could talk to you guys about, or would you rather hear about the Leica M3? Go ahead and comment below and let me know, and I'll work on a video for that. And in the meantime, thank you guys for watching. That was pretty much all I had to say about the Yashica. It's a pretty straightforward system, and I hope that someone gets excited about it after watching this and buys one. So if you do, let me know. And until next time, you guys, thank you so much for watching, and keep on shooting.